listeners, g'day legends and g'day lace outlaws. It's Peps, it's J-Dog, and it's time of the week. Round 10 has been completed. Upsets all round, great football all round, more news off the field than on, so much to get into. You're listening to the host of Lace Out, Christopher Pepper, the 377-game superstar of the East Kilda Football Club, and to my right, your left on the dial, is the greatest co-host anybody can ask for. His name is Jamie Wallis. We call him the J-Dog, and he is my tango to my cash, or his cash to my tango, whichever way you want to look at it. He's a superstar just like me. How are you, big fella? And what a weekend of round 10 footy.
It is all shaping up, Peps. It was a great round of footy, some upsets. Is the Freo docked? Is the boat docked? Who knows?
Have the wankers with anchors parked their ship, and has it got a leak? So much to talk about, Jamie. Hey, let me just get into it before we kick this bad boy off. Thank you for everybody listening last week. Cracking numbers, and they only get better because of each and every one of you joining us live, listening to us on the podcast every week. So thank you very much. If you haven't left a review of us on iTunes or Spotify, go ahead and do so. It means so much to us. And like I said, you review it, we read it out. It's as simple as that. But we've got all the big guns have come out. We're into double digits, and so that means we're starting to get, like Jamie said, pointy end. We're spinning magnets. We're dragging people. We're giving out the votes. Jamie has got... You thought last week was big when it came to the news? My goodness. Is he packing heat tonight, the J-Dog, our newsman? We're going to have a look at 1 week at a time. We're going to check out that ladder in a moment. The listener question is there. Get on the chat if you're watching us live on the Facebook page right now. And if you're not, you can always drop us a question on our Facebook page as well. So, J-Dog, the weekend, your key takeouts from the weekend from around the football or even off the field, because we always ask what we got up to.
Ooh,
You went down to the Cattery, didn't you?
I did go to the Cattery, but just my take on the round, it is shaping up to be a one-horse race. Let's not lie. Everyone knows it. Everyone's talking about it, Peps. Melbourne, 17 on the trot. Peps, you haven't seen that many wins in about 15 years of football.
Yeah, I reckon at one stage for us to get 17 wins, I reckon there was from about 2011 to about 2015.
You must be in ecstasy. You must be in ecstasy, Peps.
I don't like it at the moment, Jamie. I really, really don't. Look, I'm enjoying winning because I think we've lost something like 4 games in our last 35.
Yeah.
So it is nice to win, but you know the loss is coming. It has to. I just don't want it to be at the pointy end. I'd rather
so you're thinking like a prelim final maybe or something?
Yeah, I don't want us to get coxed. All right? I don't want us to get coxed.
I don't think you will anymore.
I just it's Melbourne. It's a different Melbourne. But, we're just enjoying the footy for what it is at the moment. And you're right, there's lots of good things coming on at the moment. That I want to get into a few of the games before we launch into the ladder, etc. But that Hawthorn-Brisbane game, what a corker. It just goes to show you can have good attacking football, high-quality defensive football, and scoring.
Yeah.
It just makes the game so much more exciting. Tasmania tend to have good games down there.
Yeah, I think because the grounds are a bit smaller and it's a bit tighter. I think that's, I don't know why, but they always seem to have those little... it's very... More often than not, they have a game within 10 points.
And the thing I also think, because the weather's cooler, they don't get as much dew on the ground and it's not going to be humid, so the ball isn't going to be as slippery, so they can handle it a lot better.
I didn't know you went to the same meteorology school as Jane Bunn.
Oh, me and Bunsey. We were Bunsey buddies.
Oh.
I just think about it that you look up in Queensland a couple of weeks ago. You played up there. It was humid. The ball was slippery. It was like a cake of soap. Down there, it's just cold. Yeah. And you're not going to have those issues. They play a lot of those games during the day.
Yes.
So you're not going to be getting any of that nighttime super chill coming through.
Yep.
It's a great place to watch footy. And I really, like I said, I so hope they get their own team when everyone can vote on it this year as well too. So there's so much to get into. The people are on the chat. Milne's on the chat after last week. He wants to think, he reckons Jack Sinclair is all Australian. Don't tell me otherwise. I'm not going to...
I've got nothing, yes.
I've got nothing.
He'd have to be in consideration for the 40.
Yep.
22, maybe, but 40 for sure.
And Can I just put this one up? Rue Boy joins us every single week, and he just says, get stuffed, going to have to relocate to Tassie. Don't worry, we're going to get into North very, very shortly because the shit has literally hit the fan before we've gone live. So if you're watching us live, jump on the chat, throw the banter around. We would love to see it and love to hear about it as well.
Hey, Peps.
Yeah, buddy.
I went to a live game of football, my first one for this season.
Yeah.
Down at Kardinia Park.
Yeah, tell me about it.
What a shithole. So, I'll give you a...
I really want you to go hard.
Oh, God, Peps, where do I start with this ground? Where do I start? All right. Now, I had been there. I've been there twice. One was for our last victory that we had down there in 2007 when Dom Cassisi kicked the ball in the last kick of the game and went through the goals. Yeah, it was a great goal. Anyway, I went to another game there with some mates. We had... we still refer to it as pots for pints. We were getting pints for the price of pots, and that was a great day. That turned into a messy night. Yep. This time, though, with the family, I want to just address a couple of things with Kardinia in Geelong. One, parking. If you're not there at least 4 hours before the game starts, you are parking kilometres away, and I had to drag iPads, kids, shit, everything on there. So one... Around the ground's terrible because the traffic is just a nightmare. They still, Peps, this gets me. This is an old man grumpy thing here. They still enforce the 2-hour parking on game day.
Oh,
so you've got all these 2-hour parking spots, but they still enforce it. So if you park there, you're going to get whacked. Number 2, tickets at Kardinia start at $60 an adult. Not 25, like the AFL at the big grounds, at that little boutique piece of shit. $60 a ticket. 20 for Hucks, Peps. 20 for Hucks.
He's not even 20 months.
Yes, he's $20.
That's
under 6.
That's bullshit. What do you mean? Under 6?
$20.
Isn't kids under 14 free?
No.
Or 5? Oh, that's bullshit.
They've got their own rules down here. And also, Peps, final thing. I sat in the hickey stand.
Yep.
Which means I was in the sun the whole game. And the whole game was played in the shadows on the other side of the ground. I couldn't see a thing. I couldn't see a player. I didn't know where the ball was. I couldn't see a thing. To make things worse, Peps, when that happens, and you're experienced with this one here, when you can't see the game when it's on the other side of the ground, all you do is just turn your head and just look at a scoreboard. Yep. And just watch the TV for a little bit.
Yeah, MCG looks amazing.
Correct.
Marvel Stadium, fantastic. What about...
You can't. Because the TV is directly in the same line as the sun, so you're looking up at the screen, but you've got the sun right there anyway.
It's a country town, Jamie.
I tell you what, for the tens of millions of dollars in development, they should have just bulldozed that whole place and start again. Don't try...
The suburb or just the ground?
Just the ground. I would have thought that some engineer would have gone, you know what, if I build this stadium and I sit down here, where is the best placement for my big plasma?
No, they probably did that, but at night time when it was cooler.
Absolute dickheads. So I went home. I spent 120 to 140 on 150, 160 on tickets.
Yep.
Plus some beers, plus whatever. Whatever.
Let's round it off to 200.
I had to go home and watch the game on replay because I couldn't see a frigging thing the whole game.
You should write a complaint to Geelong and say your ground is a disgrace.
Wow, that's my grizzle. That's my thing.
That's why the crowd is always full of Geelong people because they're the only people who are willing to pay that amount of money to go. No one else goes to Geelong. It's a waste of time. That's why they make $600,000 a game. Clear.
Easy.
It's a shithole.
Easy.
I've been there once. Last time I went to Kardinia Park, as it was known, because it wasn't sponsored. I played Little League.
Yep.
Back in 1986, pick 2 at the Ablett end, and dominated. What a joke, though. Place is a joke. Absolute joke. But you know what's not a joke, Jamie?
What's that, Peps?
The AFL ladder right now. Let's have a look at it, because I tell you what.
Don't say it.
Put up a post on the Facebook page yesterday. Am I going to have a bit of egg in my face locking in the ladder from a couple of weeks ago? And I thought, well, there was one mob I did point out. Now, I've got to make a special mention. Mm-hmm. I had Donna J. I was speaking to Donna J on the weekend. I had a karate tournament, Jamie. Myself and my daughter participated in a karate tournament.
You did karate?
Fighting karate tournament on the weekend. And my amazing daughter won a gold medal and a bronze medal. And that was sensational. And she fought Donna's daughter, and then they fought as a team and won. And I actually got in the ring and had a crack as well, Jamie. And I'm actually pretty happy to say that I came out with a gold medal as well.
You won an award, Peps.
I won an award. I also got a participation certificate.
That doesn't matter.
I actually won the gold medal for fighting against other people.
Like what category? Like dad category?
No, it was just I was the only dad there, so they put me with some younger people, all over the age of 18.
Oh, this story. So, all right. So, Peps, I shouldn't ask too many questions because I'm going to find out you end up beating up 9-year-olds or something.
No. Donna J was there. She'll write something in the chat to say, yes, she saw it, but yes, everybody was over the age of 18. I fought a guy who was a black belt in another discipline, and I beat him. And then a couple others as well.
What was your move?
I'm not saying that I'm a bit of Jean-Claude Van Pepper, but let's just say my reverse punch was on target.
What was your move, Pep?
Just like the Melbourne Football Club, who are sitting. Can I just run through some names with you, Jamie? I just want to throw some names out there. Greg Louganis, Bo Derrick, Nadia Comaneci, Narelle Pepper, Alira Wallis. Do you know what all of those people have in common? Kelly Slater all have in common. The perfect 10. They are the perfect 10, just like the D sitting on top of the ladder at the moment on 40 points. And they're going to be playing the fourth place team this week, which is no longer known as Flagmantle. Hasn't that one gone down the flagpole quite quickly? Brisbane Lions, after their cracking game against the Hawks on the weekend, they're still second spot just on percentage. With Carlton, they're flying at the moment, the Blues. I reckon I don't know, Jamie, I'm going to get your opinion on Carlton. I've got mine, but I might be a little bit biased. They're sitting on 32, a game clear of Flagmantle, and the Saints had a cracking win over there in Adelaide on 28 points. Then we've got a few teams sitting on 24, the Cats, the Swans, and Richmond. Looking outside the 8, on 20 points, Western Bulldogs and Collingwood. We've then got a few, Port, Gold Coast, and Hawthorn. Yep. Couple teams, GWS and Adelaide, Essendon, and then we've got the Weary 2, which is North Melbourne and West Coast. Now, West Coast, you could probably go with the excuses, but I don't know for how much longer. But North Melbourne, 4 points and 53.6%. They're going to have potentially the worst percentage or record for an established team outside one of the expansion teams since Melbourne in 2013, where they went 22 games played, they won 2, and had a percentage at the end of the year of 54.7.
So they're on track.
So they're on track to have a worse season than Melbourne, and we all know how bad Melbourne were many, many years ago.
Yeah,
they're on target. And you saw what happened with them. They got Paul Roos to the club. They made massive changes off field. They got solidarity off the field, and then it transitioned to on the field. So they've got a lot of work to do. And West Coast, look, they're just dialing it in on field, off field. They've still got that much money in the bank. It doesn't really matter. They'll just forget about this season and roll on to the next one. Looking at the top 8 at the moment, anyone that you're looking at there saying, they're in danger of dropping out, or is it locked in? Because a couple of weeks ago we said it was locked in, and now,
I still think that Western Bulldogs and Collingwood can make it.
Yep.
I don't think Geelong are that great. Like Port are definitely not that great, but Geelong aren't that great. Sydney, Richmond, look, I'd probably say the teams to drop out would be Geelong and Richmond at this stage.
So I think. Yeah, sorry. Mate.
No, I was going to say I think Port and Gold Coast are like maybe, but I think they're now too far back with the second half of the rounds to come, and GWS unlikely.
So I reckon anyone from Gold Coast up can make it.
Okay.
I just think because Gold Coast have got so many games at home that they can win, and they're playing some really good football at the moment. Their percentage is okay at the moment, 93.6. It's a lot lower. So they're almost scoring as much as they're being scored against.
Yeah.
They had a couple of blowouts early on, so they haven't smashed anyone, but they've beaten some good teams. I think anybody from St Kilda down is the danger. I just think Fremantle have too many games at home and that they will pinch something.
Yeah.
St Kilda, when they're on, they're on, but when they're off, it's not great. Geelong, like I said, as the season gets older, and when they play away from home, they're not that flash.
Yeah.
Sydney, I don't know. They're up and down like a yo-yo at the moment. And Richmond, is that the good Richmond? Are they going to be able to continue that for the rest of the season, or will they go back into their slumber a little bit towards the end of the season? So I think the top four definitely are locked in.
Yeah.
But I reckon anyone from 5 to 8, I wouldn't be surprised if any one or two of those teams dropped out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment.
And I wouldn't be surprised if anyone from Gold Coast to the Western Bulldogs can make it. But those teams in the bottom half, so those 4, 9, 10, 11 and 12, that sort of grouping, they're a game or two plus percentage. So they're almost 3 games out. So they're going to have to win games that they shouldn't win to make it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. But a big shout out to Donna J. She hasn't been well, so I'm just shouting out to her. Good to see you on the weekend. You looked amazing, and great to see you back on the chat because she hasn't been able to get on for a while. So good to see one of our loyal lace-outers back per normal. Julio is back again. All of them here. Milne, David Salt. It's a cracking group joining us today. Get on the chat team. We absolutely love it. All right, J-Dog.
Yes.
Let's get into. I wanted to funk this up a bit. We left it a little bit later last week, and we ran out a bit of time. So I want to go through the news of the week because I think some of the stories that have come out, especially in the last couple of days, we really need to spend a bit of time focusing on them, and I don't want to rush them through. So, listeners, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and the people from North Sydney. What we're going to do is I'm going to hand it over to our newsman. You know him as the J-Dog. We know him as Jamie, the newsbreaker. Wallis.
All right. Peps, where do you want to start? You want to talk about drugs? You want to talk about some football sackings?
There's so much. There's so much.
All right.
What you think's most important?
Well, I probably want to talk about Sam Fisher first from St Kilda. So obviously it's been a news that broke on Monday. And it's all around where Caroline Wilson, I think, was the one who broke the story and the handling of St Kilda and Sam Fisher's off-field problems. It's obviously been one of those things that's been known around in the footy world for a little bit now. But it came into effect. Basically, Fisher was charged with regularly trafficking large quantities of illicit drugs across state borders last week. And the 39-year-old is being held in police custody. So there's a couple of points to look at it here. We're talking about another AFL footballer having drug problems, crime problems, and all of that. We've got Nick Rewalt, obviously one of his good mates, has come to his side and said that the AFL Players Union need to provide better support for players as they are transitioning out of the game. Peps, which way do you want to follow it? I mean, there's obviously, we're spoken about the challenges of players with drugs when leaving the game and also within the game as well. And, maybe the AFL are doing as you always say. They're burying their head in the sand about these sort of issues and not prepared to take things on, such as their stance with gambling as well. Okay.
Before we begin this, I want us to go back to around about March 6th, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're talking 20 years ago, plus 20 years ago. All right. And at the time, former Sydney player Dale Lewis came out and said that at that particular time, that 75% of players were into illicit drugs.
Yep.
Andrew Demetriou came out and virtually said it was an insult, what he said, to say something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it now, whose head was really in the sand? He made a really ballsy comment at that particular time. And let's be honest, I'm not a drug taker. Never. I have a drink, that's it. Don't smoke, no drugs. I'll say it how it is, all right? I take drugs because I've had anxiety challenges and a few other bits and pieces, but I haven't, no drug-related issues whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I heard that, I went, really? And that was 20 years ago. Yep. It's only got worse. There's new drugs on the market, harder drugs. From a playing perspective, players can go out and pick up drugs like they're going around the corner to buy some grog, but they know the grog won't put on calories.
Yeah.
So what would you rather do? Have something that costs you, if not less, than going out and buying grog and have no calories behind it? Yeah. They know they can have a 3-strike policy, and there's only been one player, which was Travis Tuck, came out, and he was the only one that ever got done for 3 times that we know about.
Yeah.
We know how that ended up, which was a tragedy in itself. You've also got the challenges of gambling as well. Mm-hmm. These players are earning, and I won't say obscene amounts of money, but if you're a 19-year-old and you're pulling in 130, 140 grand, and you've literally got everything paid for that you need, and you do that for a few years, even if you're on the list for a couple of years, it's still good money. But if you're a footballer who's getting into their second contract, third contract, you're pulling in 400-500 grand a year. The average wage is over 300,000 at the moment. You're pulling in 300,000 to play a sport where you've virtually got everything covered for you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to have to spend your money somehow, and there's mechanisms in place for you not to get in trouble for what you do. The AFL as an institution, morally corrupt. We've mentioned this before. Like, how can they go and ban players for gambling when every second ad during a sports broadcast is for sports gambling? Halftime, before the game, the odds are everywhere. The odds are, you go to the game these days, they're on the scoreboard. But if a player goes ahead and puts his arms up, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a complete hypocrisy in the way the AFL do this.
Yeah.
And so you wonder why players, there's no real accountability for their actions, because all they have to do is say, if they dob themselves in, they don't get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
The club doesn't find out about it. They'll need a club doctor.
Yeah. In this instance here, though, Sam Fisher's has been known by St Kilda Football Club for quite some time leading up to this.
Yeah. I think it's sad that players who, we, to a degree, worship. We wouldn't be doing this podcast if we didn't love talking about what the players do every single week.
Yeah.
But for a guy who we think has got everything at his feet, setting himself up financially, he played for how many years, Jamie?
228 games, and he retired in
2016.
2016.
Yep, 2016. So 16 years, give or take.
Yep, around that.
Yeah, about 16 years with injuries, etc. Like, that's a lot of coin he's made, and he's had everything done for him, and then he finishes, and these guys have a routine. They wake up, they need to be somewhere. They have to do something every moment of every single day, and then they're left to their own devices. What do?
Yeah.
I've heard stories from cricketers when they leave the Australian cricket team sort of bubble. Like, I think it might have been Alan Border or one of the older cricketers had to be shown how to use an ATM machine or an ATM because they've never used one because everything was provided for them. So they've got to come back to, as we would say, the real world. And do you remember in The Shawshank Redemption? Do you remember The Shawshank Redemption? I can't remember his name. Brooksy.
Yeah.
Brooksy got out of jail. And he couldn't acclimatise to it because he had his routine. He was a somebody. He did everything. He goes out and he's just, I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't just happen from football, as it happens with other areas of society. But for him to go down that track, like that's a massive fall from grace. And
so where does the responsibility lie then, Peps? Because you've spoken about the transition out of the game. Does it lie with St Kilda to help the players? Does it lie with the AFLPA? Like, who does it lie? Or does it lie just... Like, this is one player here we're talking about. But since 2016, there's probably been another 200, 300 plus players that have retired and left the game. But we don't hear about them. We're talking about 6 years now. 6 years.
Have you ever had a redundancy? If you've had a redundancy, let me know on the chat. I had a redundancy from work back in 2012. And I know when I got my redundancy, work put me through a transition program. Mm-hmm. So to help me find, get my resume, get all that sort of stuff up to date, etc.
Yep. Get your job ready again.
Get your job ready again.
Yep.
But it was up to me to do the work. It was up to me to go out and find the work, find the applications, put them in, etc. It wasn't up to them. And I think it's a little bit like that. where, yes, the club has done A, B, C, D. The Players Association have done D, E, F, G. But the ultimate decision to go down that route was Fisher's.
I'm glad you're saying that. I totally agree.
And that's the way I look at it. The club, you can only be... if he left, 6 years ago? Is that left? Well, the club's not supposed to look after him for another 6 years.
Well, it's feeding the problem that we're trying to educate them to get off that problem, which is giving hand over food for everything. We're trying to educate you to get back into society.
I know. But
he's also an adult. He's also an adult. I get this.
He's an adult. That's it. Like, mum and dad aren't taking money off him. And I can understand when I watch some of those... like shows like Ballers and all these sort of things where the agents go, we're going to give you an allowance and that's it, and everything else we're putting away into the bank.
Yeah.
I can understand that, because if you've got the gates to the ATM open and you can just pull out whatever you want, you're going to spend it.
Yeah.
But for him to go down that route, like, it would have been, well, I'll try this. I got away with it. I'll do it again. I got away, and just kept going and going, and thought, well, nothing's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
I'll keep going. So I think initially the clubs and the AFLPA, etc., go down that route. But there has to be a time when players have to take that responsibility. And I think through society at the moment, there just seems to be a lack of accountability for people's actions and responsibility for what they need to do. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
Right?
Are you alarmed by the amount of drug stories we're hearing from ex-players?
No.
We don't have to talk about like the absolute decimation of that West Coast team, that premiership era team.
Oh, you got people having overdoses,
deaths, all those sorts of things.
Yep.
Broken marriages, restraining orders, criminal acts, like that. That one team of West Coast.
Amy, how successful were they?
Very successful.
Eyes closed. Mate, it's the way of the world. Should we go back to the 2008 GFC? How much money was being made?
Yeah.
Eyes closed.
Yeah.
Shoots the fan. Oh, okay, we better do something about it now.
Yeah.
When things are going well, people close their eyes. When things aren't going well, that's when then it's who can we blame?
Yeah.
It's always when you hear something goes on, it's a mental health issue. It's not a mental health issue. You made a choice.
And that's what Carolyn Wilson's getting back to as well, Peps.
People with mental health issues.
Carolyn Wilson's getting back to that article. That's why she takes a bit of umbrage with what Rewat said, because she's basically saying you're just passing the buck. Like, St Kilda have known about this for a long time, and now you're passing the buck on to the AFLPA, who should have stepped in. But really, St Kilda have known about these issues for quite some time. Yeah,
and what's his name? David Soul on the chat said it perfectly. We've got Farmer, we've got Cousins, we've got the Ox. They've all had their issues, and there's been so many more. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Heath Buxton, he'll give us a bit of some thoughts on the drug crisis and all that sort of stuff as well too. He can throw names at us. He's an absolute superstar when it comes to the background knowledge of all that sort of those topics. And I personally think it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. He's the only one who can take responsibility for that. Wayne Carey, there's another one.
Yeah, I agree. How far back do
you want to go, mate?
There is a lot of sweeping under the rug when it's like a big name player or a famous player or a well-known name or whatever. And then it all blows up and it's like, maybe we should have done this, or maybe we can't talk about that. But I do agree. All of those players have the one thing in common. They're all adults and they make their own choices, and you've got to live with the consequences. And unfortunately, we've seen it a million times before. AFL players, sports stars, movie celebrities, whoever it is, get this golden ticket.
J-Dog, there was, I don't know, I try to watch the news with open eyes. Mm-hmm. But whenever you see this come up, and it sort of leads into what we're talking about. There was an assault. There was a break-in. There was a stabbing or whatever.
Yeah.
They pick up the people there, 18, 19, 17 years of age. Do you just sit away and go, you'll get bail?
I accept it these days, yes.
Yeah. Why do we accept it?
Yeah.
Because no one's willing to put the foot down and go, you're going, mate. Yeah. It happens all the time. And this is a perfect example. Same sort of thing. Instead of just putting the foot down and go, mate, no, I will just try and find somebody else to blame. There's nobody else to blame. He's the one to blame. Because if it was us doing something, we'd be in the clinker,
for sure.
being somebody's fish, and holding the pocket of somebody whilst we walked around the courtyard.
I'd need that support. I would need that.
Yeah. Okay, so
All right.
I just think it's not a great story, but that's a story within a story. And for someone to bring it up 20 years ago, and for the AFL to sweep it under the carpet, to now, 20 years later, they're just still sweeping.
Yeah. Well, talk about big brooms and sweeping peps. Haven't North Melbourne...
Roo boy, what's going on with your club? The Roos.
Absolute crisis down there. So just tonight, Peps, as just before you're about to hit the mat and rip someone's arms off, North Melbourne have come out and they have been rocked by 3 departures from their list area, including their head of lists. So Mark Finnegan has gone. Glenn Luff has also resigned. Finnegan's accepted a role at Hawthorn after 17 years at Arden Street, while Luff,
that's a fair stint. So I'll give you...
That's a big one. That's a big one. Peps, apparently there has been a massive split at the club, and we are talking only a couple of weeks from the mid-season, whatever it's called. That is a huge development. And Aaron Horn, Francis. We didn't put it in our show notes, but obviously, travelling interstate without telling the club. But let's talk about the player. Let's talk about the list stuff first.
Oh, mate. You know, I can relate with you. I can relate to you. I actually thought when Noble came in, he'd be great for the club. But obviously, something's not right there. For 3 people to pull the pin on the same day,
yep,
that's a big exodus.
It's huge.
I think I haven't seen an exodus that big except for when the cowboy, the electrician, and the police officer first all left the village people around about the same time. It's been the biggest exodus that I've seen in one group.
Yeah.
North aren't looking pretty. They're not doing... Look, they were better on the weekend.
Yeah, much
from
better.
From a football perspective, much better. But there's something not right in the waters down there at all. And I think, like I said last week, it all started when Brad Scott got rid of all the older players. The young ones were just running around without the team without a rudder. And now the Noble's in there. Now, whether he's being too hard, maybe he's got a case of the Mark Nields. But here's the thing, Roo Boy. You're saying Noble's the one who's got to go. You got players that need to go as well, but they're probably going to get an extra season because you can't get rid of them. A, because no one wants to go there. And B, if there's a new coach, he's going to have something to play with. It's a real tough one. They're in a shambles at the moment. You've got a coach that's under fire. You've got no recruiting staff whatsoever. You've got... Luffy was always on SEN going through the stats, and then he went over to North. He's pulled the pin.
Yep. And the other player was Ben Berthel as well, who was their national recruiting manager.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I just read something out that, and this is a really valid point.
Yep. It goes back on our last point.
I mentioned that Heath just came in, and I can't show it on the screen, but he says, this is from Heath Buxton, and like I said, I told you he'd have a bit of an opinion on this, and I want to read it out because I think it's got a lot of validity to it. I know we've jumped from North, but we'll get to that in a moment. Because there's a reason why the drug business is one of the biggest in the world. They don't discriminate, especially ICE. From Hollywood superstars to stockbrokers to local footballers. Unfortunately, drugs work. Not many can take them once and stop, but not everyone goes from being a drug taker to a drug dealer. Okay? He wasn't the only drug addict. We know about that. But to take the next step and become a dealer, that's the big one.
Yeah.
So he's got a massive point there. It is true to a degree, and everybody probably knows somebody who's dabbled with it, somebody who's on it, and it's not pretty. Okay, so I think this is going to be something that we're going to be talking about for a few weeks, J-Dog. So I don't want to go into it too much because there's other stories, like we said, about North. But if we go back to that, I think North are in a hell of a lot of trouble. They are getting Melbourne bad.
Well, what is it? One win this year.
And 53%. They've still got less percentage than what Melbourne had back in 2013.
Yeah. Do you think it's probably one of the most disastrous days? I know Jared Healy was calling it a disastrous day for the Kangaroos.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard what he had to say about it, so maybe you can go into that a bit.
Yep. Oh, he's just basically saying it's just one of those days. Like it's a big day for the Kangaroo Football Club to go through this on the back of a one-win 2022 season. A new coach is under fire. A list that clearly isn't where it needs to be.
New president as well, or chairperson?
Correct, yes, new president. This is just, he said it's just a disastrous day for Kangaroos.
Yeah, it's not good, mate. And then you got Horn Francis, who hasn't signed. But I think he hasn't signed because he's going to win their best and fairest this year. So he'll want more cash.
Correct.
And then also recently it just came out that the other forward, and I get them mixed up, it's not Larky. Who's the other one with the sexy mo?
Can see him running in my mind.
His contract negotiations on hold as well. I'll get back to that name in a moment. Ruboy, if you've got it for me, throw it, because that's how it was massively recent as well too.
Yep. So, Zerha, there we go.
So Zerha has also said, I want to hold off.
Yep.
I think you're right. I think that they might be going down to, I don't know if Tassie would want them. To be honest, would Tassie want them? Well, they want their own team to be shit, not somebody else's team that's shit to come in and make their state shit.
Tassie want their own team.
Tassie want their own from scratch. Exactly right. I think there's going to be more to play out with this, and we'll probably have a chat about it next week, I reckon. But, a lot of news to come out of North. It does not look right. But all I can say to all the North supporters out there, no matter how many bad times you can go through, the light is at the end of the tunnel. And if you look behind me on my wall, I've got premiership posters for a team that 9 years after winning 2 games and having a percentage of 54, ended up winning a flag.
Hey,
so
Peps,
can turn around.
Peps, I've got a question.
Yeah, mate.
They always say that coaching is a win-loss game. That's all it is. It comes down to that at the end of the day.
Yep.
What is the number that David Noble has to get to be safe?
Good question. All right, so 2021, they finished last year with 4 wins.
Yep.
You'd have to beat that. My concern is the percentage has gone down. They were at 70% last year.
Yeah.
They're at 53%. So that's a pretty decent drop. He's going to have to win at least 4, and I don't know where they're going to get that 4 from.
Yep.
They were playing all right footy towards the back end of last year. I thought that North would be in a better spot than Adelaide and Hawthorn.
Correct. I thought so too. I think we both tipped him higher than them anyway.
We did. We've got that massively wrong.
Can North afford to sack a coach at the end of this year? Like, can they afford as a club moving forward, trying to bring in hope and all those sorts of things that clubs try and bring stability to the whole football club? Can they afford to even sack David Noble end of the year?
Oh, I don't even think they can. I don't think they can, J-Dog.
Yeah. Like, what's the optic on that? What's the optic? You've got 2 young players who are under 23, haven't signed.
Yep.
You've got your recruiting department has just walked out, and Rawlings has gone on to SEN today and said they all had their individual reasons, but that's all bullshit. It happens all in one day. And you've got a coach who's under fire with 1 victory so far this year and a percentage that is just hovering above 50%.
You know what they all need to do?
What's that?
They need to just go to the pub, just get on the sauce for an afternoon. I'm not joking. It's just sometimes they just need to you get to a point where you're just working so hard, nothing's working. You're just going to go, you know what? Forget about it for today. Let's have a beer.
I want to know why Horn Francis went on an on an interstate trip without telling the club. Was there more behind that, Peps, do you think?
No, I think, did they play in Perth a couple of weeks ago?
Right.
I think he was supposed to fly home from Perth to Melbourne, but flew Perth to Adelaide, probably saw his family, and then flew from Adelaide to Melbourne. And that was the bit that they did not know about.
Okay, all right. Why would you keep a secret? Is there more behind that, Peps? He hasn't signed a contract. Why would he keep it?
Jamie, don't go Caro on me. Don't go Caro on me.
Is there more behind it? Anyway.
Maybe his agent's down there. All right. Let's move on to the next one, mate. What's the next story that we're going to have a quick chat about as well?
All right. This is going to tie into one of my drags anyway later on. AFL crowds have been the lowest they have been in 26 years, Peps, including all the COVID seasons. Football fans have expressed frustration about ticketing issues, over-umpiring in response to figures that reveal the AFL crowds are at their lowest in those 26 years, including the past 2 COVID seasons. So while it would be unrealistic to expect attendances to bounce back to record-breaking pandemic levels, so back in 2019. Given COVID case numbers remained high, crowds in 2022 are still on average their lowest since 1996, with fewer than 30,000 people per match attending the footy. Peps, there has been a whole bunch of reasons chucked at why this is the case. Do we really think it's the umpires? Seriously? Are we going to go there?
I think there's a number of factors involved with this, Jamie. And I think you mentioned it a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
So funny enough, I think the fuel price has jumped quite considerably. Now, if I had to drive down to Geelong, that would almost cost, that'd be $100 in gas.
It's a half tank.
That is a disgrace. I'll be taking the V-line that day, but I'm not going to go down to Kardinia Park, so you're not getting my $60. You're a Port Adelaide member, aren't you?
Yes.
Did you get a membership card this year?
Oh, no. Yes, I did, yes.
A proper plastic one, or
No.
did you just get a digital one?
Digital one.
Here's another reason. Now, for someone like me, I can pull out my phone. I know what I'm doing. You get Big Trev,
Yep.
absolute superstar, turning 73 this year. He's a shocker when it comes to phones.
Yep.
I just want to pull out my pass, walk up and go, beep, that's it. Not get the phone out, I have to sit there. Why can't I just walk up and buy a ticket? How long has that taken for that to occur?
Yep.
I'm an MCC member, right? For me to be an MCC member, I should be able to just show my MCC card and walk in. Oh, no. I have to book a ticket.
Yep.
I don't have to do that anymore. That changed in the last week or so. It's all these things that you're making it harder for people to go.
Yeah.
Then you get to the footy. The price of stuff at the footy is a disgrace. Like 14, I think it's $11 or $14 for a bourbon and Coke.
Yep. I paid $11 for a beer down here the other day.
Well, you got ripped big time. The quality of the games hasn't been awesome. There's been some good games. Let me get that. The ones that sit above the water, there's some good stuff, but there's a lot of shit floating underneath.
Yeah.
People don't like stand. They don't like these stupid 50s. They don't like going to the game and seeing betting ads all around.
Yeah.
I think it's and we've had 2 and a bit years where the games were restricted. We had to watch them from home. Why would you go to a game when you can sit on the couch and get just as good, if not better, coverage of it?
Well, I
love going to the game. I love going out there. But there are reasons why, J-Dog.
And I agree. Like, I know the COVID stuff, people go, oh, you're not, whatever your beliefs on COVID are. Look, I got COVID a couple of weeks ago, and if you were to catch COVID again, the shittest thing for me was not about having a spicy cough or a little bit of a fever. The hardest thing for me was being isolated at home from my family. Like, that just shut down me for a week.
Yep.
So there's me gone out of the family situation for a week because I had to isolate.
Is that really such a bad thing? Especially when your kids get older, you'll be loving that.
Yeah. And so for some people, COVID could kill other people. Like, I had not a lot of things, but at the same time, I had to basically remove myself out of any social situations for the next week.
Yeah.
People don't want to go to the football and potentially cop a cough from someone. Like, it's still a thing. It's still thousands of cases.
I do think it's a thing, but when you're outdoors, I think there's less chance. But there's a very good point that's just come up: is the game too corporate orientated now? Is it not focused on the me and you? I think it seems to feel. Now, I will bring that up as one of my positives, one of my wins, something that was announced last week, and we'll get into that.
Yep.
I just think that there's a number of factors involved. You've got to entice people back to the game, and the game just isn't what people want at the moment.
Yeah, and I'm also bringing up their Peps. We've spoken about this. The floating fixture, it just has to go. We're done with this, aren't we? It has to go.
They'll keep it.
It just has to. Like, you can't pre-plan anything.
Just. So you can plan for the first, I think, 10 weeks of the season, but then after that, good luck trying to go if you want to go interstate. When's my team playing? What time are they playing? Are they playing on a Friday? Are they playing on a Monday?
Yeah.
You can't book anything in. So there's that factor as well too.
Yep. And, like, for me, I just spent $200 on a game of football to go watch at Kardinia Park.
That was a
Like
waste.
200, $200. Like no one has that sort of spare cash these days. Like it's, we're coming out of some people who've lost their jobs, all those situations. The money, the free money just isn't there anymore.
I met a 91-year-old lady at the servo yesterday, J-Dog.
Yeah.
And said, "Oh, how are you going?" She goes, "Oh, she just needs some help undoing the cap," and I filled her petrol for her because, that's the type of guy I am.
Yep.
She goes, "Oh, thanks." I said, what are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, tomorrow I'm 91. It's my birthday. I'm buying myself a tank of fuel." Like that's what they have to spend their money on now.
Yeah.
Cost of living. If you have to sacrifice family over the footy, good portion of people sacrifice the footy.
Yep.
Instead of spending $200, I can spend $25, get my KO subscription or my Foxtel and watch it at home.
Yep. Yep.
There's multiple factors involved, and the AFL, they may need a change. They're going to get a change, but they're going to get a change ahead of the AFL.
Yeah.
But I don't think the AFL will change. They almost need like a Labor Liberal sort of thing where the whole thing just gets whooshked and a completely new view of it needs to be brought in.
Are many clubs experiencing record membership numbers, or is it like Melbourne has definitely won? But like, what about your Hawthorns and traditional ones, are the big ones? Are they getting more this year than say previous years?
I wouldn't know, but I think Hawthorns would have gone down. I guess Essendon's gone down a bit. Like they're still getting big numbers, but they're not climbing at the rates of others. So I think success also comes into it. Like Melbourne have hit 60,000 members for the first time ever.
Yeah.
4 years ago, we were lucky to get 40,000.
Yeah.
35,000. So things change when you get a bit of success, but it doesn't really matter how many members you go. It's also going to the games. Like North Melbourne on a Saturday afternoon had a whopping 12,000 there.
Yeah. Yep.
I think they counted a couple seagulls.
Yep. And I'm not going to lie, Peps, I like sitting there, turning on the projector in my couch and just watching the football. Just it's all there.
Hey,
I want to
how many
drink.
free kicks did you see on the weekend?
Well, it has gone up 6 per game, Peps.
Yeah, free kicks. So what are they saying with the free kick count?
They're saying that it has gone up on average of 6 free kicks per game this year.
Yep.
Okay. Once again, I don't know if I know there's 6 extra. I just feel like whatever. Like the game is a game. Same as the interchange. I didn't know that it was 150 interchanges a game. I didn't even think about it.
Interchanges you don't see, free kicks you do. You can see them, mate. And to see 6, fair enough. Funny enough, as I was on my way to karate tonight, I heard Dean Margetts.
Oh, yes.
Your chat. And he was on the radio and he said a couple of things. He goes, we feel like we're the 19th team.
Mm-hmm.
I went, oh, this guy's a bit up himself. He goes, no, think about it. We've got our players that have been around for a long time. We have our rookies. And we also have people that are injured and on long-term injuries as well.
Yep.
And so what happens is that when you get your experienced players who haven't umpired or have umpired a lot and they can't umpire because they're injured, they have to get the young ones, a little bit like West Coast.
Yeah.
Why can't they be awesome? Well, they can't because they haven't got the experience, they haven't got the skill level, etc. So they get these younger umpires, and something that where like the whole arms out, etc., where they would be like that. He even said that's not dissent. Dissent is verbal, aggressiveness, etc. Dissent is not putting out your arms.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, somebody putting out their arms became arms out dissent.
Yeah.
And he goes, then you get the younger ones who probably don't have the mental fortitude to stop it or to push back on it.
Yep.
They give it because they've been told to. So there are those tolerance levels.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he goes, look, we've got stand, we've got the protected zone, we've got dissent, he goes, the one with Chad Warner on the weekend shouldn't have been paid. He goes, the one with the Goey should have been celebrated where he's tried to restrain himself for doing it, shouldn't have been a free. So he was saying, yeah, there's mistakes being made, but we're only doing what has been instructed from the high level. Yep. So once again, we'll go back to Brad Scott and the stupidness behind it. Yep. Considering if you look at the way that he behaved in the coach's box, it was a disgrace.
Let's try and get some more ex-players to be umpires. Instead of going down Media Street, try and get them to become umpires. I would love to see a player umpire. I mean, not in the same...
Well, there has been one. Fisher? Zach Fisher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's him. Yep.
He's been an umpire. And David Roden's a goal umpire.
Yep. I would like to see more current players who have just retired, maybe take a year off, and then try and become to an AFL umpire.
I'm not going to take David Roden any credibility until he does the worm. Worm. And
across
then
the goal line.
Across the goal line. Until to then wave the flags. All right, buddy. I reckon it's time to light this bad boy up a bit, okay? You want to lighten it up?
Sure.
All right, let's go ahead and do this, my friend. I think it's time to get some magnets out. Let's start with the big boys.
3 votes.
3 votes. All right. Hit the wrong button there. Yeah, 3 votes. Let's get into some voting action. And even though Paul Rifle, absolute superstar when it comes to the cricket side of things too. So magnificent. All right. Right, 3 votes. Can I shout out to Hawks, Saints and Collingwood for their wins on the weekend?
Yes, of course you
Okay,
can.
just cracking games. I'm even going to throw Brisbane in there. I know that they lost, but a cracking game between those two. And I had Hawks supporters, and Heathy Buxton, who was on a moment ago, was like, can you please get your president to sign up Chad Wingard? We don't want him. And then he strolled through the pack, kicked the goal, and then I got another message saying, actually, don't call just yet.
Yeah, hold off.
The Saints and Adelaide. Adelaide, great footy, but what those Saints did in the last quarter was nothing short of amazing. And the 6 goals straight for Max King. He is the Katy Perry of the AFL. He is hot or cold. So either kicks 6 straight or kicks 1 goal 7.
Yeah.
He has just those weeks. And Collingwood's win against Flagmantle over there in Perth. That's 2 bad losses for Freo in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And they play Melbourne this week. So I'm not saying that that's a certainty, but what I'm saying is that could potentially be 3 in a row. It's not a great road trip going all the way to lose to Collingwood at home. Switowski's got 2 weeks for his chicken wing, and now they're going to have to come over to play Melbourne. And it was a hard game. It was in the slog of a bit of a wet game as well.
Yeah.
Andy Bridge, I love what you do, mate. I love that you tune in every single week. But to say the Hawks had the game given to them when they were 3 goals up with a couple of minutes to go, I don't think so.
All right, let's keep moving.
All right, next one. Like I said, the Bo Derek of the AFL, the perfect 10 for the Ds, 10 in a row, 17 in a row over the last couple of weeks. It's just great to see. Happy for us. I just want to see where it goes. A few hard games this week. They've got Fremantle, Sydney, and then Collingwood over the next 3, and then Brisbane as well. So they're going to have a bit of a harder run this next couple of weeks, but I think a few of the teams like that. Indigenous round, loved everything about it. Dream time at the G, sensational. Question I have for you, Jamie, is why is Sir Doug Nicholls' round over 2 rounds?
I actually don't know why that would be the case.
Not too sure why it's so. Is it so each team can play a home and away?
Yeah, I think so. So they each get to do their own ceremony, their own welcome to country sort of thing at their own grounds, maybe, potentially?
So I don't mind that one as well too. Andy Bridge is telling me that take a look at the end of the 3rd quarter. Certainly, that might be right. But Andy, there's a whole nother quarter after that as well. There's 4 quarters in a game, and so you might just want to check that. Did Hawthorn outscore the Lions in the second one or in the last one? I'm not too sure, but regardless, let's not punch on about it. Love what you do, mate. More importantly, I just liked what they did. Question for you, Jamie. Who is Melbourne's biggest challenger coming forward from now? So if you had to pick a team, who is Melbourne's biggest challenger just from what happened over the last round of footy?
Yep, so Melbourne's biggest challenger.
And I'm not saying that they're a shoe-in or anything along those lines, but we are sitting 10-0.
Yep. Your biggest challenger is the Casey Demons, your second team.
Yep.
There's no one in the AFL that's close to you guys at the moment. The closest team is seriously the Casey Demons, who are also on 32 points. They've won 5 in a row. Frankston coming up this week, I think. They're 8 points ahead in the VFL ladder.
Okay.
Your team is that far ahead, Peps, that even playing your reserves team is probably going to matching most AFL top 8 teams. I'm honest about that.
Maybe you're seeing something that I'm not, but it was interesting. The reason why I asked that, because people go to me, who's going to beat you? I'm like, I don't actually know, because I don't. I like what Carlton is doing. I think Brisbane on their day, very, very hard to beat, but everything has to fire for them. And the thing that, and someone made a really good point, is that Melbourne don't blow teams away. But what they do though, is they actually restrict the other team from actually scoring.
Melbourne have got gears. They've got gears, Melbourne.
Okay.
They're not playing 5th gear. They're playing 2nd, 3rd gear, and when they want to step it up, bang into 4th gear and put on a 15-minute spell of footy.
Yeah, well, okay.
Melbourne are that good. They're that far ahead.
Okay.
Might and power at the front, and then the rest are all just trying to catch up to your heels.
I hope so. Hey,
Haley off, Ellingworth on. Bloody winkers.
rightio, dragged. You know what I really don't like about this time of the year, besides the fact that it's getting colder, we mentioned how foggy was it this morning.
Oh.
It would have been massively chilly down Torquay, mate.
Oh, the old boys are starting to...
They are. It's starting to turn into Pingy Central. So you have a look at, Kennedy from the Swans, massive hammy. Could have played his last game on the weekend. I think he got a week for striking, but also I think it was a tendon hamstring. So we're not talking about a small one. We're talking a big one. Ed Langdon with his ribs, but he reckons he'd be all right. So I don't classify that as a injury.
No, just a whack.
That's just a whack. Coxie broke his compound fracture to his finger. Dangerfield has got a calf issue. McCluggage has got a hammy, which is going to be out for a few weeks. Lynch, once again, the most overrated forward in the league at the moment. Tom Lynch, he's got a hammy as well too. Lambert's got that hip problem coming back again. Rory Thompson may have done potentially another third ACL, which would be a travesty. Reminds me a lot of Alex Johnson when he came back for the Swans, played a couple of games.
Remember that.
DBC again at the MCG. I was at that game, and outside the minute silence they do on Anzac Day, the crowd went silent as soon as that happened. And I just don't like seeing the old blokes getting injured. All right?
Yeah.
Rightio. Come on, Essendon. What's with your fake toughness? What about the push and shove? How about just going hard at the ball? Fuck's sake. You're all this, but not enough of this. Oh, push and shove. But then when you've actually got to play the sport, you don't turn up.
Yeah.
My God. The team of the mid-'80s and early 2000s will be rolling over in their graves if they'd watched you right now. You're pathetic. You should actually take that red stripe and swap it for a yellow one and run it straight down the middle of your back, because that's how you're playing at the moment. All right. And we don't really believe game numbers are low because of umpires, do we? No, Jamie, we've had a chat about that. I think there's a multitude of issues, but the umpiring is a reason why people are very, very frustrated with the game. It's just it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Fair enough.
Rightio. Now, let's talk about some contract news, J-Dog. You going to talk about it or me?
No, there is no...
There's no cash here. Here, there's no cash, all right? Cash, no. Robbo? No cash.
There's no cash to talk about this week. No cash, no splash. No contract news really to come out of it, except for, like we said, Vaughan Francis has put his on hold. Zerha's put his on hold. So hopefully we'll have a little bit more to discuss next week. But here, no cash. All right, my friend Robbo, Rising Star. Tell us about the Rising Star for this week. And
yes,
before we get into it, if you go back to the start of the year and you have a listen to my pre-season preview with the great man from the Gold Coast, he actually said that this guy is going to be a breakout. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. Tommy Roker pulled this one, and finally he was writing to me on Sunday. Have a look at this. I told you. Tell us a little bit about this week's Rising Star, Joel Jeffrey from the Gold Coast J-Dog.
Absolutely. Gold Coast have uncovered themselves a key forward, a gun forward, and Joel Jeffrey, 20 years old, played the best game of his short career in the weekend in the 19-point win. Undefeated at the hands of Western Bulldogs, collecting 10 disposals, 5 marks, booting, game-high 5 goals. The pick of his 5 goals was the second quarter when Jeffrey intercepted the Bulldog defender Tim O'Brien's handball and just instinctively snapped it over his head for the third goal.
Hey, it takes a special player to do that. And so for you, Joel Jeffrey, this is what I've got for you. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. 10. You're the best for round 10. That's what you are, best for round 10. Rising Star. Who would you say is going to be winning the Rising Star at this time of the year, J-Dog?
I haven't really sat down and gone through all the players and thought about it.
I haven't really, but from what I've seen of John Newcomb, there's something special there.
Yeah.
And I like Hobbsy from Essendon. I think he's got something as well. I think Dacos, that's a given.
What about your little redheader?
Jake Bowie, he's got a premiership. Potentially might have 2.
Well, he's still eligible, I think he is as well.
Yeah, and Nick Martin, I reckon, is a bit of a special one as well.
Yeah, Nick Martin,
got him right as well too. All right. Hey, J-Dog, really quickly, mate, we've got the from last week, the listener question.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
All right, so I asked the question, Team Peps or Team J-Dog around a day grand final or a night grand final? And the days, Team Peps won it in a landslide. So I'm going to say enjoy your victory. You are... it is a throne of lies. You're going to have a couple of years left of a day grand final, and when the new contract comes in for TV rights, it's going to be a twilight grand final. So enjoy it.
No,
enjoy it.
We will.
It's going to be a twilight grand final. We all know it's all heading there. But the days won it.
I can get there 4, Pete, and then you can do it whatever you like with it. I want to see one at the daytime.
I don't mind the daytime. I'm not against it, but I also think that the nighttime has a better spectacular and more eyes on the game. But that's okay. We'll wait.
That's good. This week's listener question.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So on the back of me sitting at Kardinia Park getting absolutely filthy, hot, bothered, couldn't watch the game, sitting around Geelong supporters, I want you to tell me, who are your top 3 hated teams in the AFL?
Oh.
Because I know that they're out there. I know that there are 3 teams that you absolutely hate. And when you see them lose, even when you're not playing them, and you see them lose, it brings a smile to your weekend.
Yeah. I like that one. I know my 3, but I'll leave it till next week. By the way, really quickly, bags. Charlie Curnow, 6, and Max King, 6.
My boy.
Bags. I absolutely love it. 1 week at a time, Jamie. What game are you looking forward to this week?
Yep. Looking forward to a lot of great games this weekend.
I know. As you look them up, I'll quickly do it. Look, I think there's 2 games that I'm really looking forward to this weekend. Actually, there's probably 3. Friday night, Sydney-Richmond at the SCG. It could shape one team's cementing their spot in the 8, or one really making their climb towards the top 4, which is Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, my mob versus Fremantle, 1st versus 4th. And the last game second last game, Carlton versus Collingwood. I reckon, finally, those 2 teams going at it will be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, I'm with you. Carlton, Collingwood all the way this week for me.
Andy Bridge, if you want to give us 4, give us 4. Okay. Now, normally we roll out a bit of James Blunt for people who have retired and finished up for the year. But in this certain circumstance, there was a player who decided to retire from the game for probably many, many reasons that I don't have the expert knowledge of going into. But for Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti, you are one of those players that was absolutely exciting every single time you strapped on those boots for the Essendon Football Club and loved everything about you. You're one of those players that I think every forward line would have loved to have at their disposal. And so for you, my friends, we're not going to go with the James Blunt. We're going to go, and we're actually going to go out to the episode with this song to celebrate your fine career. So, Tipper, all the best for what you do. You lit up forward lines around the country, and just good luck for your future endeavours.
All right, listeners. Catch you later.
We will. This is for you, Tipper.
See ya.
Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti playing footy, making it to corners when you think that he couldn't. Arms like Kardinia hand like the predator, just when you thought he couldn't get any better. Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti gets back for the ball, runs it back. The hard ball gets the pressure racks. The hard ball gets the pressure racks.
Thanks for listening to the latest episode of Place Out. Head over to iTunes and Spotify to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And remember, join us every single Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, on our Facebook page with yours truly, Christopher Pepper, and the co-host with the most, Jamie Wallis, giving you your footy how you want it. Place Out.